I used to write poetry, and I haven't for probably about 30 years. And there's a bit in me that says I'd like to write poetry again, but I haven't the slightest clue how to start that happening. Occasionally phrases come into my mind. Have you any advice for me?
And a third-person reference. Silence. Could it be? Yes, it could. Something's coming. Something good.
Is this a speech?
Maybe tonight.
Take it any way you like. Okay, you know, when you take a big fall, a big precipitous fall, it allows you an opportunity to look inside yourself and really study who you are. And, you know, what I did wrong had nothing to do with drugs or cocaine. And, you know, in case you haven't read the story, The Glass Menagerie is a story about a person who is trapped in a universe from which she could not escape. And it's not a universe that had any walls or bars or chains. It was a prison made up only in her mind.
Whether he knows it or not, it's kind of brilliant. It's almost like a Monty Python or something. Just got all these idiots sitting around the table and then the head idiot trying to tell us how to behave.
I didn't realize at the time, but I had my own little glass menagerie. I was going to be the successful businessman. I was going to be a United States Senate. And as a result of all that, I was going to marry whoever I wanted.
It's absolutely ridiculous, the story about the glass menagerie. He's using this literary reference completely wrong.
So, in the same way, everybody in all his behavior, whatever he's doing, whether we call him from a certain point of view sick, or whether we call him healthy, whether we call him good or bad, neurotic, normal, psychotic.
She was all flustered, I could tell she liked me.
All the manifestations are just like the leaves on the trees.
This girl and I were inseparable for 3 years. But my heart was battling with my mind. I wanted everything perfect. But she didn't fit into my glass menagerie. She wasn't this perfect person. You know, she was the beverage cart girl. So 3 years later, day before the wedding, I called it off.
So
I threw her away like she was like,
there really is, from that point of view, there is nothing to do to attain Buddhahood. Nothing at all. But you see, that's very difficult to understand, because a lot of people, when they hear that there's nothing to do, try to do nothing. And you can't. Because you are karma, and karma means action. You can't do nothing.
I think what happened when I threw her away,
the thing you're looking for,
I was not true to myself.
I think you're looking
the rest of the glass menagerie didn't matter. I basically wanted it to explode, and I was just reckless, and I was really upset with myself, and I didn't know how to atone for my sin.
We've got ourselves into the idea that oneself is so difficult to see. Because it's like, as I've often said, trying to bite your own teeth or look into your own eyes,
in the desert,
and you can't find it.
Carved from sand and rock. A vast labyrinth of pathways and corridors, 100 miles long,
is from the
1,000
optical
miles
point
wide,
of view,
full of twists
a blank space.
and dead ends.
Neither light nor dark. It's right in the middle of everything.
Carved from sand and rock.
One of the great tricks of gurus is to set people looking for their heads. There's a famous story of a king in India in ancient times.
So I would just impart this advice to each and every one of you. You know, be careful of what you want.
Reached out for his mirror and brought it over. No head.
A vast labyrinth of pathways and corridors.
And you know, he was kind of bleary-eyed and had a hangover. So he summoned servants and said, "Ye gods, I've lost my head. Find it." And they said, "But Your Majesty, it's there on your shoulders." He said, "It is not. I can't see it in the mirror. Nobody can show me my head." So they were rushing all over the place, looking for the head. Now the trick to that is, of course, that you are perfectly well aware of your head, only not in a form in which you expect to be aware of it. You expect to be aware of your own head in the same way as you're aware of other people's heads. But that wouldn't be true of you, because you've got an inside view on your head. You have an outside view on other people's heads, because, of course, you're taking an inside point of view. But the way in which you are aware of your head is in terms of what you are seeing and hearing. Because all sights and all sounds are what the nerves inside your head are doing. That's how to be aware of one's head. You are aware, therefore, of yourself, the mysterious self that you have, in terms of experience. Because there isn't really any difference. But that always escapes people, you see. So perpetually, so long as you don't understand that, you can be talked into going on to all kinds of weird excursions. And just so long as you believe it, you're a sucker. You're hooked. And it takes a tremendous inner confidence and nerve finally to say, "Hey, don't pull that stunt on me anymore. I see through your game."
I'm absolutely buzzing to announce Huel. Right, if the hardest geezer is using Huel, you know it must be good. This is their... good to go. If you've not tried this yet, you're missing out. Hit the link to get yours now.
A puzzle, you walk, and at the end of this maze is a prize just waiting to be discovered.
Another universe
All you
where
have to
I
do
was
is find your way
already
through.
a fantastically successful photographer. And so the first time I took a jump was kind of a shock to me. Now here is the picture. You can
Carved
actually
from
see the
sand and
picture.
rock.
And that's the picture, the actual picture that I took in San Diego. And I started thinking, did I really get information from somebody in another dimension? Apparently so, but no,
Carved
it
from
can't. I
sand
didn't believe it
and rock.
myself.
Sand
People
and rock.
sometimes tell me they're skeptical. Nobody's more skeptical than me. This doesn't really make sense. So a little bit later on, I tried it with writing, turned into a writer. I tried it with piano. I started playing the piano, as you may have heard. But truly, wow.
and he sees eyes watching him. He's already aware that he's surrounded.
Just find your way through.
And he was my first guide.
And it turns out that my trip has had a number of different destinations.
Can you see the maze? Its walls and floors, its twists and turns. Good. Because the maze you've created in your mind is itself the maze. Its twists and turns.
You build the momentum to skyrocket across galaxies.
Its twists and turns.
Are we indeed now in some way camped on the edge of another dimension?
Carved from sand and rock.
People who started it are not playing games. You can't start stuff like this without being a real chess master in your consciousness. You have to have some kind of entire playing end game in your mind before you can even launch off.
You may house their bodies, but not their soul, for their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams.
Why not enjoy the current and the sights you see as you float along?
There is no desert, no rock or sand. There is only the idea of it. But it's an idea that will come to dominate your every waking and sleeping moment.
To entertain the miracles of color and form.
Every thought we have, whenever it feels dark or negative, make an immediate correction. Find something to be positive and thankful about.
Externally, a world begins to be created.
I've seen the worn-out faces of men with withered dreams in halls of endless mirrors between which dull light did gleam.
just felt that the drive in academia was towards being abstract, being explicit, and being disembodied, and non-implicit. And works of art are embodied, and they're like people. They're like, we experience them, and they have an individuality, like a person. That's not what I find in academia. Look at the work of literature.
When I look at critics in general, I always get the impression that they somehow feel that they're superior.
Because gurus are very clever at putting you down. But they're just trying to see how strong you are. Testing you out. See if they can hoodwink you. So long as they can, you see, they're going to go on doing it. Because they're going to get you to the point where they can't do it to you anymore. Then they'll graduate.
Had some time to think things
And so,
I've been seeing
one of Rinzai's students,
since then,
after he saw through it, said, well, there wasn't much in Rinzai's Buddhism after all.
For example, I can see that.
Of course there wasn't. He said boldly and straight out, my teaching is just like using an empty fist to deceive a child. You know, when you play games with a child and pretend you've got something here. The child goes into all kinds of tizzy to get you to open your hand and show what it is, and then there's nothing. Fooled. So you can be fooled. As long as you can be fooled. When you can't be fooled, you don't ask the question anymore. Because it's all become clear. It's all become clear that there is no puzzle about
the maze now. You cannot escape.
What makes you think there are puzzles about
to madness?
Very simple reason. You're trying to explain it.
Silently, secretly.
And when you explain things,
they use their power enslaving and binding the soul of men. Unseen they come and unseen they go. Man in his ignorance calls them.
First of all, to be able to translate
dark is the way of the dark brothers, traveling over the earth. They walk through men's dreams.
In other words, to describe.
Into man's mind space.
But a real explanation is not just a description. It's a description which enables us to control what we are describing. But didn't we see in the last session that to control the world is not really what we want to do?
Inside the maze now. You cannot escape. Welcome.
So that if all explanations have as their function enabling us to control things, then maybe an explanation isn't what we wanted.
I heard you like me. That'll never happen. So don't waste your time or my time. I don't like women like you.
It's like diving into the rabbit hole
would be so stupid to risk her own life
built up in layers.
I don't like women who scheme, and I don't like women who lie.
She knew those stabbing words were for her. If only she could tell him what happened that horrifying day 5 years ago and why she left him. If only she could tell him her secret.
Long ago,
please, don't
in the days of the first man, warfare began between darkness and light. Man, then as now, were filled with both darkness and light, and while in some darkness held sway, and others light filled the soul.
Future grandmother of her child, not understanding why she was doing this. Tears
like
well up in Zoe's eyes, infuriating the old woman more.
That monstrosity inside you.
To control things. Then maybe an explanation isn't what we wanted. And furthermore, you can very simply see that what makes things complicated is explaining. When somebody explains to you how a flower works, and he's a great botanist, and analyzes all the innards of a flower, and shows the channels, the fibers, the processes of reproduction, and so on that go on in it, everybody stands fascinated. How complicated that is. How clever God must have been to create that flower.
A puzzle.
To have all that complexity going. It isn't complicated at all. It's only complicated when
he's in the clouds or a thunderstorm or there's fog and his view is impaired.
The vehicle of words is a very clumsy one. And when you try to talk about the processes of nature, what is complicated is not the processes of nature, but trying to put them into words.
everything that you think right there is out there is actually a construction happening moment to moment in your mind.
Nightmares. So this intense complexity that we see in it is created by our attempt to analyze it all. And so what we do is, you see, when we analyze, we use our eyes and ears as scalpels, and we dissect it.
You're inside the maze.
And we have to put a label on every piece we chop off. And so we scalpelize, and we get it right down to atoms. Getting finer and finer, and we suddenly thought, well, we've got to the end of it, because the word atom means what is not cuttable. Atomos. But then we found we could cut the atom. And lo and behold, big fleas had little fleas upon their backs to bite them. And it goes on forever. There is no end to the minuteness which you can unveil through physical investigation. For the simple reason that the investigation itself is what is chopping things into pieces. And the sharper you can sharpen your knife, the finer you can cut it. And the knife of the intellect is very sharp indeed. And the sophisticated instruments that we can now make, well, there's probably no limit to it. But in a way, all that is vain knowledge. In a way. Because you see, what it does is it gives you the illusion that you've solved your problems. When you have controlled certain things and you have solved certain problems, practical problems.
Welcome to madness.
You say, fine, more of that, please. Let's go on solving problems. And then you do. You create a world of people, as we are today, far more comfortable than people who lived in the 19th century.
Our human eyes, according to this view, are merely clear windows that accurately let in the world.
Or some of you when you were children. Of medicine. Of badly heated homes. Of all sorts of things that we don't put up with anymore. But the problem is we keep running into this thing that all constant stimulations of consciousness become unconscious. And when we take it as a matter of course to have certain knowledge, then we switch the level on which we worry.
I'm terrified.
I'm afraid of it.
When you solve a whole set of problems, people find new ones to worry about.
First,
and after a while, you begin to get that haven't we been here before feeling.
Is anyone around you?
Aren't we just going round on a cycle and doing the same old thing over and over and over again because we don't realize
it really is an incredible place.
That we're chasing our own tails. By an eternally recurrent process.
Some kind of reverse matrix
of not knowing who you are.
Maybe
that is the hide and seek. That is the nature of what the Hindus call the Manvantara and the Pralaya, the period of the Manvantara in which the worlds are manifested, and the period of the Pralaya in which the worlds are withdrawn from manifestation. In and out, in and out. Evermore came out by the same door as in I went. The thing is to get to the point where you can see that you are doing that in every moment of your existence. With every tiny little atom of your body.
Serious doubts regarding the nature of our reality begin to arise.
Are the whole system.
Sit down and close your eyes.
Of inning and outing. In other words, you often think perhaps, maybe a long, long time ahead, I shall reach the point where I wake up from manifestation and overcome the world.
Space and time aren't these hard, cold objects out there, sort of like the pebbles and the shells you pick up along the seashore.
My friend,
no, wave your hand through the air. If you take everything away, what's left? Nothing. And the same thing is for time. You can't put it in a bottle like milk.
In other words, what you call diversification
so again,
is your game.
All of experience is just information that's occurring inside your mind, in space and time are the mind's tools for putting it all together. We even do it in dreams with your eyes closed. You can be on the beach with bright lights just as real as we are here in this room. Your mind has the ability to create space and time just like it does in dreams.
After something that they call that is success, and they have no idea what it is. So in exactly the same way, the guru is keeping you running and running after spiritual attainment. You don't know what you want.
It was just a very natural progression of I was
because
this state,
he says
this second.
If you ask me for enlightenment, how can you ask
someplace else?
If you don't know what it is, how do you know you want it?
Went from being in a physical form to being in a spiritual.
That any concept you have of it will be simple.
There was a lady who was waiting to use the phone.
A way of trying to perpetuate the situation you're already in.
Turns out she's a nurse.
If you think you know what you're
standing there and I'm trying to call out to anybody who listen.
What you already know. What you've already
I can see all of them. I can
Therefore,
hear
that's
all of
not
them,
it, is it?
But nobody can see or hear
Because
me.
you say you're looking for something quite new.
And then it occurred to me that I'm standing here and I'm thinking exactly the way I normally
What's your
would.
conception of something new?
I've complete control of my mind.
I can only think about it in terms of something
thinking in the vernacular, in the way that I normally would think. And I'm having
so he doesn't say anything.
Racing thoughts are going through my head trying to make
He
sense
doesn't indicate anything positive.
But I realized at that moment that whoever I am, I always am.
Well, the simple
and
answer
there's
is
no such thing as death.
You don't need anything to hang on.
You know, my spirit or whoever I was is eternal. And that was probably the first big realization that came to me as this whole
what is all this religious stuff about then?
Is that
why don't we just
my spirit is here forever?
Try. By all means. Just go away. Don't go to gurus. Don't go to church. Don't enter philosophical discussions. Forget it. But then you'll realize that by having consented to forget it, you're still seeking. What a trap. What can you do? You see? If you stay here and listen to me or to anyone else who comes around here, you're fooling yourself. But if you go away, you're fooling yourself too. Because you still think that's going to improve your situation. It won't. And therefore, when you discover that it doesn't.
Each of us right now have the ability to put that kind of song into the universe of, I am alive right now. Humankind may decay and go into its extinction event over the next few decades. The Earth may collapse in its 6th great extinction. But I am alive right now, and I'm going to participate in that through my vibration, through my effort to hit a new harmonic for myself. And I am not going to be dragged down by this, you know, as you said, the most intense fear and guilt paradigm we've ever seen on the planet. Despite that tenor, despite that extreme volume of those two vibrations, which are among the lowest we know, how many of us are finding this new freedom to vibrate higher? Which means the old structure, the old power of fear and guilt might be letting go. It might be in its last throes. Because if we can think this creatively, and we can find each other right now, the people that need to find each other to innovate for the near future that we need tomorrow are finding each other. That means that, you know, everything that we've built, you know, and no better example than our monetary system. Our monetary system, as many people know, was created on the concept of death. It was all through life insurance. And so by betting on death, we created great wealth, and we created, you know, New York Life became the Fed ultimately in all of this. And so the Federal Reserve built its wealth on death, and we still do this. And so we have a monetary system that's built on death, which of course is fueled by fear and guilt, and this belief that this is some sort of endpoint. When we let go of all of that, vibrate at this higher level, we can create a new monetary system that's built on life, because we now know that the biggest, you know, most resilient form of energy on the planet is biology. And so we just need a biologically backed currency. And so we're working on the idea of a currency that's backed by biologic resources, such that every year that your currency is in a reserve bank, the reserve bank grows in its wealth because you've backed it by biologic assets. And so by backing a reserve bank with biologic assets, you start to accelerate the global economy, you accelerate wealth that's now not measured by some factitious US dollar, but by actually biologic assets to create a more abundant Earth.
And what is a biologic asset?
It can be just about anything. So any soil, water, air systems are at the foundation, but you can imagine that we should need to start treating crops as a biologic asset instead of a resource for food production. The food production is the happy side effect of the biology, which is exactly what the mitochondria is telling us, because the mitochondria is not there to make ATP. It's there to produce energy, and the byproduct is food for the cell. We need to come to see farming and agriculture as our dance, our creative dance with biology. And if we do this right, it's going to, I think, be the second thing that we've done right as humans. The only first thing that I can find that we did right was music. It's the only thing that we didn't screw up. Like, we've never caused harm by the creation of music. It's never detracted from nature itself. I think it's augmented nature, and plants love our music. We've shown that, that you put Yo-Yo Ma next to a tree, it's going to be a happy tree.
Right.
And so with our vibration, with that creative vibration, if we created agriculture with the same mindset of we are going to send farmers into the fields to sing, and not just vocal, but they're going to sing with their energy field that's responding in this spiritual reactivity to the planet itself. If you really ask a farmer who's in it, and is, fighting against all odds to be in it, why they're doing what they do, it's because they love walking across or riding across their land in the morning at dawn, when you can smell the humus, that top living layer of soil, and you can smell the dew on the grass as it's starting to dissipate into the air around you, and Mother Earth is literally exhaling at that time of day, and you're breathing in the ion charge and the intelligence of her deep vibrations within her that filled her breath that night. And so that's what a farmer loves. That's why we're here to do what we call agriculture.
And therefore, when you discover that it doesn't, you think, well, maybe it was a mistake to go away, and you come back to the Guru. And he looks at you and says, you are very undisciplined, very inferior student. And you need to apply yourself. Well, as I explained what he's doing. But it comes down in a way to a sort of contest with the Guru. See? Will you call his bluff? You're afraid to. Because you might discover that if you do call his bluff, he's no better than you are. Well, that's what you're supposed to find out. But without being cynical about it. He's as divine as you are. But you've got to call the bluff. There's going to be a showdown. And it's a double bind. The whole situation's a double bind. Because it doesn't do any good to stay here, and it doesn't do you any good to go away. Either to do something about it or to do nothing about it. Now then, there's something else. When you understand that, and when you realize that
it's not stopping. The music, the DJ maybe took a little break, but it seems like the DJ is going back in, the music is starting again.
Well, it's all here. Then what are you going to do? Well, of course, this is the sense of the Zen poem. supernatural activity and marvelous power, drawing water, carrying fuel. You know? Do whatever one does as a human being. But there's a little element of Philistinism in that. It's like when a child is pestering father or mother with all sorts of questions. They finally get down to the deepest metaphysical problems. They say, "Oh, shut up and eat your donut." And I wouldn't say that, you see, because life, as one looks at it, you see, is in fact a celebration of itself. When you look out at night at the stars and you really wonder, good God, what is all that about? Well, it's a fireworks display, and it's celebrating high holy day. It's whoopee, and the whole world is whoopee. It's a kind of exuberance, and therefore the proper function of religion is digging this. It's not seeking. It's not seeking anything, but is, in a way, thanksgiving. That's why, of course, the Christians were right in calling the Mass the Eucharist, the Thanksgiving. Only they had such a complicated way of thinking about it that nobody could understand it.
When studying subatomic
so
particles,
in religion,
the observer appears to alter
all religious exercises, whether they are meditative or whether they are ritualistic,
is hopelessly entangled with the attempt to what you're observing.
They are not something you do in order to attain anything. They are like art forms, like dancing. They are expressive of attainment,
of color and form,
of the attainless attainment. So here's another hand.
When studying subatomic
when you go to
particles,
Mr. Suzuki,
the observer appears
who runs the Zen Center, he's a good disciple of Dogen,
the presence of the experimenter
who brought Zen, a certain school of Zen to Japan in the 13th century. Dogen said, you can't sit and meditate unless you're already a Buddha.
To alter and determine what is perceived.
In which case, why meditate? Well, meditation is just the way a Buddha sits.
What is perceived.
And he called this sitting just to sit, not to attain enlightenment. The minute you do that, you see, you're not meditating.
To alter and determine what is perceived.
So you only become a good meditator if you're not looking for anything. And therefore, you realize what a great thing it is.
It's hopelessly entangled.
And what a great thing it is not to dissect the world with your analytical intellect. To be able to look out at the water or the trees or at the floor and the light on it in front of you without calling it light or floor or trees or thinking that it has parts or thinking that it's complicated. It isn't.
To entertain the
so when you can sit without thinking, not with an empty mind, mind you, I'm going back to that point, not with an empty mind, but just a non-analytic mind, a non-probing mind, where you're not creating problems all the time, by trying to control it, by trying to control your mind, by trying to control your experience, what you see and hear. You then just simply discover that there is no way of controlling what you're experiencing, because what you're experiencing is you. And to try and really fundamentally control that is just going around the circle. So if I would say to you now, what you have to learn is to let it happen. That's wrong.
Sand and rock.
There's no one to let it happen.
A vast labyrinth of pathways.
If I say to you, accept your experience,
100 miles long, 1,000 miles wide.
Be calm and open,
full of twists.
That again perpetuates the illusion that you're something different from it. So we go round and round. But if there are some people who want to get together and like we would get together to play poker or to
and at the end of this maze
have
is
a
a prize
go fishing,
just waiting to be
sail a
discovered.
boat, if there are some people who want to get together to meditate
is find your way through
and have rituals, chant, great. It's an art form.
Picture it. Is Picture it.
To ask for something. Lowbrow people for lowbrow things. Highbrow people for highbrow things. And there all the vendors sit outside and sell souvenirs and magic and charms.
You're inside the maze now. You cannot escape. Welcome to madness. A puzzle, you walk. You're inside the maze now. You cannot escape.
But don't take it seriously.
Welcome to madness.
Alita worked for an entity called the Research Institute. Her duties there gave her access to your stuff.
It's the vibration of life.
We've been paying her to provide us with a trapdoor into it. Now that she's missing, we risk losing that connection.
And the guides say, "We will sing your song for you until you remember the words." Then you are just expressing everything. All of the observer comes right into the present moment. In the present moment, that transmission becomes magic.
Well, what were y'all up to in my world then?
I'm sorry?
Seems like you're going to an awful lot of trouble here to find things out. Kind of just begs the question, why?
You could call it intellectual curiosity.
Like a game? Like you're playing a sim?
I suppose that analogy could be made.
So we aren't real to y'all? Are we? Me, my family, my friends?
Are we real to you? You were able to allow this music to move through your own body, your own unique mind.
I've seen the ship far in the sky, you know, like...
Let yourself sing. Let your whole expression, let the emanation of your entire energy sing a song.
Just as when we say we're the dreamers, and we're also the ones that are living this dream. I've seen the ship far far in the sky, you know, like as we did a few days ago.
Day 3, yeah, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And I remember for me in the darkness, I was wrestling with, I could just leave. I could just go to the light.
Us too.
Did you have thoughts like, I'm going to go down the mountain. I'm going to walk down the mountain.
We can do that.
I'm going to drink this water. I can't do this.
Yeah.
How much did you have to wrestle with that part of you?
I mean, a part of me, I was so exhausted. I was on the floor that I was like, to think that I have to go down now and grab all my berries and everything, how would I even do it? You know, I was just like, I'm just going to stay here till they come. But I also committed myself. I was like, I'm going to do this. There's no way I'm going to come down. Like, why? I'm doing this. I'm committed and I'm going to fulfill my word.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And it's also beautiful because like there's a lot of vision questers in the mountain that are doing this. We're all doing it together.
By the beating of a drum, singing all together in gratitude. After finishing my 4 vision quests, I did my first Sundance in the same land. But we were in a different, entire paradigmatic place, like where different things were possible and magic was very real, and not just real in our mind, but real in ways that we could feel it.
In a 3-dimensional physical sense in which we could experience its results and its effects.
Frolicking down a yellow brick road.
I'm part of the collective. Songs, knowledge, and origins. Guided by the beating of a drum, singing all together in gratitude. Together. Daughter of this sun and this earth, related to all. Alive because of everything that sustains my life. Completely dependent on the sacred spirits that give me life. All of these rites of passage have taken me deeper into knowing myself a little bit more. Because all I can talk about is what I have experienced through my own flesh and breath. And I know that the mystery is holding space for us all.
I can't deny the magic that I can witness every day. I can't. It's like just impossible. I laugh at myself. I'm like, I am seeing this. Are we all seeing this? Yes, we are. Thank you.
But maybe you could say that actually we were tuned into the frequency, and that was the song that was needed for that very moment. It was the puzzle piece that fit right into the puzzle.
Alita worked for an entity called the Research Institute. Our duties there gave her access to your stub. We've been paying her to provide us with a trapdoor into it. Now that she's missing, we risk losing that connection.
Well, what were y'all up to in my world then?
I'm sorry?
Seems like you're going to an awful lot of trouble here to find things out. Kind of just begs the question, why?
You could call it intellectual curiosity.
Like a game? Like you're playing a sim?
I suppose an analogy could be made.
So we aren't real to y'all, are we? Me, my family, my friends.
Are we real to you?
Every big roller in the world, all the medium ones, and most of the small ones, they all know. You're blackballed. You're blackballed.
Living this dream, this dream, this dream, this dream.
collection of the best poker players in central Colorado met at a Fairfield Inn suite off I-25. Not a barn burner, just a run-of-the-mill Thursday night mid-stakes ring game. A young woman from out of town was at the table. She was cute. She livened up the room. She had plenty of cash to let her play. 3 hours later, she mopped the floor with each and every one of them. Which happens. But this had been happening. Previous week in Cheyenne, before in Rapid City. Same young woman cutting a haphazard path across the middle of the country. Never in any big games, never in corporate-owned casinos. Always the same result. She didn't lose. Word spread quick, because as you know, gamblers talk. But here's the thing. As far as anyone could tell, she was playing straight. No wires, no shills. And yet, she played with an almost supernatural infallibility. Guided by the gears, super cards. Together.
I can't deny the magic that I can witness every day. I can't. It's like just impossible. I laugh at myself. I'm like, I am seeing this. Are we all seeing this? Yes, we are. Thank you.
You know what naughty means? Means vain, negative, empty. A naughty person, therefore, is one who doesn't amount to anything. It's just nothing. That's the real meaning. But this misunderstanding of the nature of contemplation existed not only in India, from which it was transmitted to China, but also in the West. You read many treatises on Western mysticism, and there's still the feeling that getting into a deep, deep trance, sometimes called rapture. Again, the word rapture has undergone some transformation. We talk about rapture as people being beside themselves with pleasure. But to be rapt means to be taken away from the body. So also ecstasy, we now interpret as meaning in a state of high pleasure. But it means to be outside yourself, to stand.
Click with some people and not with others, it has to do with your personal year cycles. This report will help you determine which cycle you're in and what you can expect from your lover, friend, family member, partner, boss, or coworker. The 60-second palm reader's guide. Your palms have patterns that, like numbers, can reveal more than you think. And in just 60 seconds, this report will show you everything you need to know to read anyone's palm, including your own. Finding your lucky stars. This report gives you step-by-step instructions and charts on how to find your lucky stars until the year 2020. By using nothing more than your date of birth, you'll discover the best times to start new projects, travel, change jobs, start a new
One side of that
relationship,
coin is manipulate.
The Psychic's Handbook. Discover how to tap into your superconscious mind while you sleep to gain answers and wisdom. Plus, 4 easy and powerful meditation techniques that will increase your creativity and reduce your stress. And lastly, you'll get our premium members only numerology software package, which includes the Lucky Number Generator, which will allow you to calculate your 5 universal lucky numbers, plus your luckiest numbers for every
Part day of your question, it's important to understand that if you consider a coin like a quarter or a dime, one side of that coin is manipulation. And manipulation at the agency, we define manipulation as getting people to do what you want them to do because it's in your best interest. So let me say that again. Getting people to do what you want them to do because it's in your best interest. That
I'm convinced that
is manipulation. The flip side of that coin, the opposite side of that quarter or that dime, is motivation. Motivation. And motivation is getting someone to do what you want them to do because it's in their
to look
best
through your
interest.
entire report and the
right?
bonuses.
The opposite
And if at
of
any time within the next
manipulation.
365
In manipulation,
days,
you're getting them
you
to take a
decide
certain
that you're
action because it
100%
benefits you.
satisfied.
In
Just drop us a
motivation,
quick email,
you're getting them to take a
gladly
specific
refund
action because it
every
benefits
penny.
them.
I'll even
So
insist on
motivation
keep the
and
bonuses as a
manipulation
thanks for putting
are
in
the
time
two
and
real
trust.
opposite factors here. It's
When you click
important to
the button
understand that
below,
because
you'll be taken to
the
a
same
100%
techniques that you
safe
use
support
to
order.
manipulate
As soon as your
someone,
order is received,
you can
go to
also
work.
use to
Privately send you
motivate
a
them.
complete
It's
numerology
just a
report.
matter of asking yourself about the outcome.
So excited
Is the
to get your
outcome
hands on this.
benefiting you?
Something
If
tells
so,
me you
it's
like
manipulation. Or
Click
is
the
the
button below,
outcome
we'll
benefiting
get started
them?
right away.
If so, it's motivation. So, deceit can be used to both manipulate and motivate. So I don't want anyone to think that lies are inherently bad, right? A big thing that CIA teaches us is that there really is no right or wrong. There is no good or bad. There is no black or white.
I've got all the
We live in a
information
world
I need
of
to
gray.
complete your personalized numerology.
Different situations,
That's
different
it. I saved the
scenarios
best for last.
will require a
Now,
different set
a
of
word of
tools
caution. The
to get
information I'm about to share
a
with you
specific
is
outcome.
incredibly intimate.
The
It
question
raises
is
hairs.
first, what is the
Most
outcome
people
that
are
we want?
often shocked at the
And then the
accuracy.
question is, what
And I
tools do I
think you will
want to
be
use to
too
get that
after
outcome?
you hear the
We've all
intriguing
lied to our
truths I've
children
discovered
to
about
get
your
them to do the right
personality,
thing.
hidden
Does that make us
motivations.
bad parents? We've all lied to our
listen on.
spouses
Do
or
so
lied to our
with an
partners
open mind.
to get them to
This
do
insight
something
is
that's
sure to
good
bring
for
you
them.
immeasurable
Does that make us liars or
start by
cheaters or
examining
bad husbands or
your
bad
soul
spouses?
urge.
No.
Your
It's
soul
just a matter
urge,
of the
also
tool that
called
we use to get
heart's
the
desire,
outcome. Similarly,
shows what your
we
soul
have
needs
all
to grow,
told the
evolve in
truth
life and
to
relationships.
try to get someone to
Like
do
your
something
expression,
that
it's
is in their
derived
best
from
interest,
assigning numerical
and they
values
still
to
haven't
letters
done
of
it.
a full birth name
Just
using
because
Pythagorean algebra.
just because you tell them the truth
Except
doesn't
in
mean
the
that it's
case
going
of
to
your soul
motivate them
urge, you
to
look
do the
only
right
at
thing.
the vowels
So we need to kind of let go. We need to
Concepts
accept through cognitive dissonance that the idea of right or wrong, good or bad, ethical or unethical, all of that is a subjective, fabricated framework. In reality, it's all about outcomes and tools. And if you're looking for a certain outcome, you have to be willing to take those tools. I don't know that that answered your question, Doug, but I'm hoping it helps.
For
sure, in the context of
astrology, Marsilio Ficino devoted much of his life to studying the incredible ways one's life improves when he or she follows the promptings of the soul. The benefits he encountered were undeniable. So, are you curious to know what your soul urge says about you? After analyzing the vowels of your full birth name, I've discovered that your soul urge number is 6.